All right, so we have already started a new project and we saved it where we were shown to save it. So now let's talk about the next 3 steps. So we need to first set up our elevations. And to set up our elevations, we really need to think about where things in our project are going to go. So for example, our walls need a starting point, meaning at the bottom of the wall, and a stopping point, meaning at the top of the wall, right? So we need to think about things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and over here on the left under elevations, these are just whatever direction you're looking at your project from. You will get the same information from all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on east, and we can see that the default template that I chose is here where we can see just 2 levels. So I want to be specific with those levels. I want the first one to be at 0, 0. We're going to put our foundation, our concrete foundation at that point. And then I know that I'm going to want a top of my walls level. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here and just double click on it and name it top of walls. Click off to be done. Always say yes to this. Would you like to rename corresponding views? So over here on the left, you can see under floor plans, I have level 1, level 2, and site. So it's level 2 that I'm trying to rename to now be top of walls. You need to say yes. Otherwise, this one's going to continue to be level 2 over here, and they won't match anymore, and it could get very confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Don't Show Me Again and hit yes. Name corresponding views. And we can see on our left side that we no longer have a level 2, we have a top of walls. All right, so level 1, I'm going to go ahead and rename that, and I'm just going to call that my foundation. And you'll notice it did not ask me that question again because I had check marked the little Don't Talk to Me Again box. But over here we can see that it is actually renamed. Now I know that I'm going to want a roof level. So I'm going to go ahead and right click. This is how you create new levels. So I'm going to right click on the words top of walls, and I'm going to do create similar. Now it's giving you dimensional options where you can go ahead and just make sure it's at the correct height. That would be 7 feet above the 10-foot top of walls level. I'm going to go ahead and not let that be specific, but I am going to make my first click over here so that it lines up with the left side of the existing levels. And then bring it over, and then my little bubbles there, line those up. I'm going to hit cancel twice to stop making more. Double click here, name it roof. And we can see roof on the left side. And then I'm going to go ahead and make this at 20 feet. And hit enter. Now I can change this value when I start building. I can change the top of my walls value once I start building. Maybe I decide that I want it to be a vaulted ceiling and I want the walls to be 15 feet. We can always change these values later. You just have to be intentional when you're doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and do my foundation. So I want my foundation on the foundation floor plan. Make sure you're in floor plans, not ceiling plans. So I'm going to go ahead and expand that. So I'm going to double click on foundation. I'm going to create my space within my site boundaries here. And I'm going to come up to architecture and do floor. Now you have a number of different floors that you can choose from. For this activity, I'm going to leave it generic 12-inch. And then you have all of your drawing tools here. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to draw. I only clicked once. I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to go ahead and let this one be at 48 feet. And then I'm going to come up to 25 feet. Let's do 12 feet. 10 feet, bring this across. You'll see the lining up dashed line that goes down, the blue line. That way I can just click and close it off. And once I closed it, it ended my continuous line. Cancel twice. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and check mark to be done creating my foundation. And then here's where, if you come to view and then click on 3D, it's a little house, it turns it into a three-dimensional view instead of 2D. And then your little view cube here is where you can rotate things around. Now, just as a quick tip, please listen, this comes in super handy. If you're on a mouse and you hold down your wheel and move your mouse, it'll move the object around. And then if you hold down Shift on your keyboard and hold down your wheel, you can freely rotate. This will be super beneficial a little bit later. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and check to see. I'm gonna click on my east view. Now we'll see that this went down underneath foundation. Now, depending on your intentions, that might be, you might want it to go up instead of down. It depends. I'm gonna go ahead and let mine stay here so that when I put my walls on, they'll sit directly on top of here. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to foundation. Okay, let's put some walls. Zoom in, I'm just rolling my wheel on my mouse. Come up to architecture and click on wall. All right, so I don't want generic 8-inch. I want to go ahead and go with generic 6. And I want it to start on the foundation, that's the bottom of my wall. And then I want my top constraint, if you leave it unconnected, it's going to go 20 feet tall. We want to make sure that everything we do, foundation, walls, it doesn't matter, always has a very specific level to attach to. So I have one specifically called top of wall, so I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click on a corner. It doesn't matter what corner you start from, but I do want to point out one thing. The wall location is currently on wall center line. That means that wherever I click, half the wall is going to be on one side of where I clicked and half the wall is on the other. So let me show you what that means. I'm going to zoom in closer. I'm going to click, and do you see how half of it is on my foundation and half of it's off my foundation? We don't want that. So I'm going to hit escape one time on my keyboard. And I'm going to switch this. You have two other options, exterior or interior. So let's go ahead and go exterior and see what this looks like. Okay, so we can see here that this is sitting on top of that foundation. All right, I am going to escape and show you what the other wrong view is. So I'm going to click interior. Do you see how this one is actually sitting off of my floor, right, off my foundation? So that one is not right. Now, little tip, if you just change the direction you're moving to, look, now all of a sudden we're on top of it. So I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to zoom out so I can see all my corners, hold down my mouse and move up a little bit. I'm just going to click on each of my corners and just keep going around. Cancel twice. And we can see that it made my corners for me. Let's go back to 3D. And there we go. So in this video, you've learned how to create elevations, how to put in a foundation, and how to put in walls.